Simple interest. In this video, we have two objectives. Number one, we want to calculate simple interest. And number two, we want to use the future value for simple interest formula. So let's begin. What is interest? Interest is how much is paid for the use of money. Okay, if you see it as a percent, that's an interest rate. Otherwise, the word interest will stand for the dollar amount. Two or three additional words associated with interest. The principal, which is the amount of money that's being deposited or borrowed. The principal is also sometimes referred to as the loan's present value. And interest rate, the cost as a percent, and it's done annually per year for borrowing money. Okay, so now that we know what percent is, now that we know what interest is, what is simple interest? Simple interest is simple interest is interest that is calculated only on the principal. Only on the initial amount being borrowed. Okay, they'll calculate interest this way for short-term loans, including auto loans and consumer loans. How is it done? For simple interest, the interest is calculated as the principal, the amount that's being borrowed or lent, times the interest rate as a decimal, times the amount of time the money is being borrowed for in years. And here is a look at that formula right here, the formula itself, and then the definition of the various letters. Let's do an example. Example 1, a student took out a simple interest loan for $2,400 for 2 years at a rate of 7%. What is the interest on the loan? Well, the interest is equal to the principal times the rate as a decimal times the time in years. This works out pretty well. The principal amount is $2,400. The rate of 7% as a decimal is 0.07, so we can do math with it. The time in years, well, it does say 2 years, so we just need to put a 2 for the time because it is in years already. So the interest on the loan is principal times rate times time. With the calculator, this comes out to be $336 even. Okay, so the student's interest on the loan is going to be $336. When he pays the loan, when the student pays the loan back, of course they're going to pay back the $2,400 plus the fee for borrowing the money. So in 2 years, $2,736 will be paid to the bank, I guess in this case, for the privilege of borrowing the money. This is the amount that's to be paid back for the loan, and this is the fee for using this amount of money over 2 years. Okay, let's take a look at future value. Okay, so there we go. Future value is the total amount you're going to repay for borrowing money. It includes the principal, which is how much you borrowed, plus the interest. And I just kind of spoke to this in example number 1. Okay, we go back to here. The present value, or the principal, is $2,400. The future value is the principal plus the interest, $2,736. That's the future value of this loan. Okay, future value, total amount borrowed, or total amount repaid including the principal or the present value and the interest. So here is the formula for that. The future value for simple interest, we're going to look at compound interest coming up. We're focused on simple interest here, is the principal or the present value, depending upon how they want to call it. They're the same thing, plus the amount of interest. Here is the formula. The future value, or the amount at the end, is equal to the present value, or the principal, times the quantity 1 plus the rate as a decimal, times the number of years, times the time, which is in years. Okay, let's look at some examples here to help us with this. We'll make use of this formula. Example 2. A loan for $2,040 has been made at 7.5% for 4 months. Find the loan's future value. Okay, go back up to here. Find the total amount that will be repaid. That's the loan. You have to pay that back. And then we'll come up with the interest, which is the fee for borrowing that money. What's the total? Well, the amount is equal to the present value, or the principal, times 1 plus the rate as a decimal, times the time in years. Well, you borrowed $2,040. Put that in for P. That's the principal. We're going to take 1 plus, well, the rate is 7.5% as a decimal, so we can do math with it. That's going to be 0.075 times the time in years. Well, this is 4 months. What is that in years? Well, in years, 4 months is 4/12 of a year. Okay, so this is one way, the fraction way, to write 4 months in years. 4 months is 4/12 of a year. And you have to have the time in years. Let's do this math. And the future value, the amount that will be repaid, which includes the principal and the interest, you're going to pay back $2,091. So you borrowed $20.40. You paid back a total of $20.91. Let's subtract these two. Turns out the amount of interest you had to pay, the fee for borrowing the money, is $51 in this example. Okay, example number 3, You borrow $5,000 from a friend. You promise to pay that friend back $6,500 in 2 years. What simple interest rate will you pay? Okay, well, the future value is equal to the principal times 1 plus the rate times the time. Okay, let's see. You pay back $6,500, so that's the future value. $6,500 equals the initial value, the principal or the present value. You borrowed $5,000 times 1 plus, we don't know the rate, so there's our letter. And we do know the number of years is 2, so 2 times R. Okay, or 2R if you will. So let's go, we can actually simplify that a little bit. This is 6,500 equals 5,000 times 1 plus 2 times R. That's more how we're used to seeing it. Okay, a touch of algebra. The distributive property, we know all about that. This is 6,500. Well, 5,000 times positive 1 is 5,000. And 5,000 times positive 2R is 10,000. Let's see, 4 zeros times R. We want to solve for the rate. Let's subtract 5,000 from both sides. And this is going to be 1,500 is equal to 10,000 times R. Let's divide both sides by 10,000 to solve for R. And the rate is equal to 1,500 times 10,000, which comes out to be 0.15, which of course tells us we have a 15% rate. And of course, this is per year, a 15% interest, simple interest rate. Okay, 15% for example number 3. Last one, let's do another example using that formula. Enough space here, I think I got it there. Example 4, how much should you deposit today into an investment account paying a simple interest rate of 8% if you need $4,000 in 6 months? Okay, the amount from the future is equal to the principal, or the amount in the present, times 1 plus the rate times the number of years. Well, I need $4,000 in 6 months, so that's the future amount I'm looking for. How much should I deposit today? No idea. That's the P, that's my unknown. 1 plus the rate is 8%. As a decimal, that's 0.08. It says 6 months. Our time is in years. I'll write that as 6/12 of a year. You, of course, could write it as 0.5. It's also half of a year, or 0.5. I simply decided to say that 6 months in years is 6/12 of a year. Okay, well, we can do the calculation inside of this parenthesis. 1 plus 0.08 times a half comes out to be 1.04. To solve for P, I'll divide both sides by 1.04. And the amount I need to deposit today, the present value I need to deposit today, turns out to be $3,846.16. Of course, it should be smaller or less than $4,000. I'm putting this amount of money away today. I'm letting simple interest have a play in how much I will have in the future. If I put a smaller amount in, I earn a little bit of interest. In this case, it turns out after 6 months, I earned about $154, I guess, in interest, and I have my $4,000 future value in 6 months. So I let the money work for me. I picked up a fee for lending my money, for giving my money to the bank. They paid me a fee of a little over $150, and I came out with $4,000 when all was said and done. So that is simple interest. Next up is compound interest.